Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Jaya Radha Gopijan Vallabha Radha Gopijan Vallabha Shri Radhe Jaya Nitai Patita Pavan Hare Jaya Nitai Patita Pavan Hare Jai Jai Prabhupada
Shri Balaram Purnim Ki Jai. So we will be reading this morning from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Canto 7, Chapter 15, Text 45. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jam Udirayat Nastravesya Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavadutama Sloke Bhagavati Naistiki Yavanrikaya Ratamatma Vasupakalpam Datte Kahista Sharanach Shanaya Nishatam Kyanasim Asyuta Balo Dadat Asta Satru Spananda Tushta Upashanti Idam Vichayat Yavan Rikaya Ratamatma Pashup Svakalpam Tate Kahista Charanach Sanaya Nishatam Ihyanasim Asyutabalo Dadat Astu Satrum Svananda tushta upashantaidam vichaya. Yavanikaya ratamatma vasu vakalpam. Tate haista charana sanaya nishatam. Yana simachyuta balodadastastu satu. Svananda tushta upashantaidam vichayat. Someone else? Yavanikaya ratamatma vasu vakalpam. Tate haista charana sanaya nishatam. Yana simachyuta balodadastastu satu. Svananda tushta upashantamidam vichaya. Yavanikaya ratamatma vishofakalpam. Date haishcha charanarsanaya nishatam. Yana simachyuta balodadastastu shatru. Svananta tushta upashantaidam vichaya. Word for word translation. Yavat, as long as Rikaya, this human form of body, Ratam, considered to be a chariot, Atmavasa, dependent upon one's own control, Upakalpam, in which there are many other subordinate parts, Date, one possesses, Garishta Charana, the lotus feet of the superiors, namely the spiritual master and his predecessors. Archanaya, by serving. Nishatam, sharpened. Jnana asim, the sword or weapon of knowledge. Achyutabala, by the transcendental strength of Krishna. Tadat, holding. Asta Shatru, until the enemy is defeated. Sva Ananda Tushta, being fully satisfied by transcendental bliss. Upashanta, the consciousness of being cleansed of all material contamination. Idam, this body. Vichayat, one should give up. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. As long as one has to accept the material body with its different parts and paraphernalia, which are not fully under one's control, one must have the lotus feet of his superiors, namely spiritual master and the spiritual master's predecessors. By their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge, and with the power of the Supreme Personality of God's mercy, one must then conquer the enemies mentioned above. In this way, the devotee should be able to merge into his own transcendental bliss and then give up his body and assume his spiritual identity. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.9, the Lord says, Janma karma samedipyam eva yofeti tatvataha tyaktvadyam punarchama naitamamiti sorina. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in the material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. This is the highest perfection of life, and the human body is meant for this purpose. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 12, 17. Hridayamatyam sulabam sudurlabam palavam sukalpam kukarnadaram mayana kulyena nabaspateritam pumam bhavadim natarit saatmaha. The human form of body is a most valuable boat, and the spiritual master is the captain, Guru Karnadharam, to guide the boat, implying across the ocean of nations. The instruction of Krishna is a favorable breeze. One must use all these facilities to cross over the ocean of nations. Since the spiritual master is the captain, one must serve the spiritual master very sincerely, so that by his mercy, one will be able to get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. A significant word is Asyutabala. The spiritual master is certainly very merciful to his disciples, and consequently, by satisfying him, gets strength from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Go Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 19 verse 151. One must first please the spiritual master, and then automatically one pleases Krishna and get the strength with which to cross the ocean of nations. If one seriously desires to return home back to Godhead, one must therefore become strong enough by pleasing the spiritual master, for thus one gets the weapon with which to conquer the enemy, and also get the grace of Krishna. Simply getting the weapon of Jnana is not sufficient. One must sharpen the weapon by serving the spiritual master and adhering to his instructions. Then the candidate will get the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In general warfare, one must take the help of his chariot and horses in order to conquer his enemy, and after conquering his enemies, he may give up the chariot and his paraphernalia. Similarly, as long as one has a human body, one should fully use it to obtain the highest perfection of life, namely going back to Godhead, back home, back to Godhead. The perfection of knowledge is certainly to become transcendentally situated, Brahma Bhuta 4:30-20 Srimad Bhagavatam, as long as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18:54, Brahma Bhuta Prashanatmana Shoshtina Kankshati Samsavesha Bhut Srimad Bhaktim Labate Param. One who is transcendently situated is at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything, is equally disposed toward all living entities. In that state, he attains pure devotional service. Simply by cultivating knowledge as impersonalists do, one cannot get out of the clutches of Maya. One must attain the platform of Bhakti. Read the verse again. Yeah. Yavanrikaya Ratamatma Vashos Pakalpam Tate Kahista Charanakshanayan Shatam Yana Simachuta Balo Dada Astra Satru Svananda Tushta Upashanti Dam Vijaya. As long as one has to accept a material body with its different parts and paraphernalia, which are not fully under one's control, one must have the lotus feet of his superiors, namely his spiritual master and the spiritual master's predecessor. By their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge. With the power of the Supreme Personality of God's mercy, one must then conquer the enemies mentioned above. In this way, the devotee should be able to merge into his own transcendental bliss and then give up his body and resume his spiritual identity. Om Ariana Timandasya Chananjana Shnaka Saksvanmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah Chitchetayamanopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svam Rupakadamyam Dadati Svam Pradantikam Vandeham Shiru Shiyuda Padakam Nam Shigam Vaishnavam Sa Shirupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivashakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Chatpate Gopesha Kopka Kantarada Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanshna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhani Sutadevi Panamama Haripriye Vancha Kalptubhisha Kripas Navivasha Padnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namanama Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So this is the verse at the end of the 7th canto. The first 10 chapters of the 7th canto is mainly focused on Prahlad Maharaj, a pure devotee, that the process of Bhagavad Dharma, devotional service, the direct process, that's Narada Muni in the 7th canto is speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj that time. And after hearing the first 10 chapters, yeah, he was thinking, yes, Prahlad is the most fortunate devotee, but Narada Muni says, you are much more fortunate than Prahlad, because the Supreme Personality of Krishna, he visits your own house, it's your family member, it's your associate, it's your servant, and so on. So you are much more fortunate. But then Yudhishthira Maharaj considers, we hear about Prahlad Maharaj, how can I organize society in such a way that I can inspire everyone to perform Bhakti? And then Narada Muni explains the Varnashram system, that how the society should be organized. It describes the 4 Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, but also it describes the 4 stages of life in spiritual life, that means brahmachari, the duties of a brahmachari, Hyasta, and then the duties of the vanaprastha and the sannyas. After describing them, now at the end, he says, yes, but to go to these stages, that you must accept the spiritual master to guide you. That's very essential. Otherwise, this varnashram is just an indirect process, but you must come to the direct process of accepting a spiritual master. And so this is a very essential verse. Factually, it describes the strength of Lord Balaram, Achyuta Balam, the strength of Balaram. So Balaram is connected with Guru Tattva because he gives the strength in our devotional service. Balaram is known for strength. In Nectar of Devotion is described how Balaram was dragging the city of Hastinapur into the Yamuna. So Balaram is a guru. Why is he guru? Because he is the foremost and first servant of Krishna. He gives the example that. So here, the necessity of accepting a spiritual master is emphasized. But then you have this Jnana Sim Achyuta Bala. So the spiritual master gives us instructions and these instructions from the scriptures is like it gives us a sword. But to use that sword, we have to sharpen the sword by following the instructions of the spiritual master, not just following the instructions. And by following the instructions, then we get this Achyuta Bala, the strength of Balaram. And that is essential to get that strength. Without the mercy of Balaram, we cannot attain the mercy of Radha and Krishna. And that it has to go to Balaram, and the spiritual master is representative of Balaram. So one must have the mercy of the Guru and all the predecessor acharyas. What does it mean, getting the mercy of the Guru? Is taking shelter of their instructions. Then you get the mercy. Of course, we have Vanu and we have Vapu, Vapu, which serving the spiritual master physically and helping him in his mission. Vani is serving his instructions, which is the most important. Because one who is Krishna conscious, he always thinks of the spiritual master in the heart. That's interesting. Like, that comes first. We cannot serve the Lord directly. First, we must serve the Lord as an assistant of the spiritual master. Not directly. When we see that is in the heart of pure devotees. Prabhupada always said, Krishna's, by the mercy of my spiritual master sent all these young boys and girls, he said. He saw that the hand of his spiritual master, and he sent them to assist me, so that he saw always the hand of his spiritual master in everything. Prahlad Maharaj also. Prahlad Maharaj, when he prayed to Lord Nrsimhadev these beautiful prayers, and Lord Nrsimhadev said, "Oh Prahlad Maharaj, you can ask me whatever you want. I will give it to you." Many people in this world would like that. They will come up with a whole shopping list. But Prahlad didn't. Prahlad Maharaj said, "You know, my Supreme Lord, I've been born in a family of demons, the Asuras, and he said, I'm very afraid of the material condition of life. But I don't have anything to ask from you. You are my eternal master. I'm your eternal servant. And being situated in that relationship, I feel completely satisfied. that, but Prahlad said, if you want to give me one blessing, give me the blessing that I always can continue serve my spiritual master who has put me on this path of devotional service. So we see here, Prahlad Maharaj has always the image of his spiritual master in his heart. That comes always on the foreground. He knows the etiquette. By the mercy of Narada Muni, I got darshan of the Supreme Lord. But that does not mean I can serve him directly. The etiquette say I serve through the spiritual master, and he brings that up. And that is the benediction he's asking. So we see how important this is. But here, Balaram is Adi Guru, is the first Guru that. And the instructions of the Guru comes from Balaram, comes down to Balaram. So the spiritual master transmits the message so that the disciple can understand it and receive it. He presents it in such a way that the disciple can get it. So as we are all followers of Srila Prabhupada. We are all distributing his books. That's our duty, to distribute his books. So we are like that. We are serving also as Guru, as Vartma Pradakshaka Guru. We put many people on the path of devotional service. Therefore, we must be always exemplary in our behavior. We are presenting the spiritual master. We are presenting Balaram, and that is our jahya. It's a sacrifice we must do until we reach perfection, because doing that sacrifice gives us the mercy, this asyuta bala, because it is in this world we try to develop bhakti, but even if we have developed some love for Krishna, lust tries to steal our bhakti. So always that sense of dependence, dependence on the spiritual master's mercy, feeling helpless, it's before the spiritual master we present ourselves as a fool, and in a helpless state. And then Krishna, if we are helpless, then Krishna comes to help, give us this. Balaram gives us this asyuta bala, the strength. There is that prayer to the Guru. I forgot the name of the prayer, but it says, yes, praying to the spiritual master, please give me the strength to bear all trials. So that's important for us. That is this asyuta bala, because we are in the material world. That it's not that because we become a devotee, our life will be like Rose and Sharanamrita. It will be not. We are still in the material world. So it's good to pray for the strength, please, so that we can bear all trials in this world. But of course, the mercy of the spiritual master is the mercy of Balaram. I'm always thinking that I was in my youth when Prabhupada came to the West. I could have met him, but one way or another I came later to Krishna consciousness. So I may always think I regret that because I was there when he was here. But the Father is more merciful to the grandchildren than to the children. And that's our hope. That's our hope. That if we really endeavor to spread Krishna consciousness and please Prabhupada, Prabhupada will be pleased. And we will get this Achyuta Bala. This Achyuta Bala, we need to go back to the spiritual world. That, so the spiritual master is acting for us, that he gives us this mercy of Balaram, which comes to the disciplic succession. That, like it's explained here, that this body is like a boat we have to use, an instrument. That it's not our spiritual identity, but it's a good ship. That and we can use it to make spiritual advancement by engaging it in Krishna service. It's like pulling out a thorn with another thorn. That's the, yeah. And when gradually, by following the instructions of the spiritual master, we come to understand our spiritual identity. So the human body of life, also Pralat Maharaj, Kamaraj Achat Prahyo Bhagavan, Dharmam Bhagavatamyam, Dulabam Manasham Chamyam Tapyav Dhuruvam Artadam. He said, Pralat Maharaj said, we should cultivate this Krishna consciousness from a young age, from a very young age. That because this human body is very rarely obtained, he says. So we should use it. That, of course, that's in many places in the Vedas. Yeah, Vedanta Sutra, Atato Brahma Shishyas. Now we have obtained the human form of life. Now it's the time to inquire about your spiritual identity. That so the human body offers us a wonderful opportunity, because it can bring us over the ocean of birth and death. But we need the mercy from the spiritual master and his predecessors. We cannot apply transcendental knowledge without the instructions of the spiritual master. That, like learning medicine, you need to learn it from an expert medical doctor. That we need guidance to apply this knowledge. So Srila Prabhupada gave us the Bhaktivedanta purpose so that we can apply it. That because apply it is one thing, misapplying is worse. We must learn how to apply it properly. So, but we are all mercy cases. That no chance to get out of this conditioned state without mercy. That mercy is required. That we are chanting the holy names, but still in our heart we have this exploitive mentality, and which we have cultivated for so many lifetimes. And this exploitive mentality is in the heart or in the mind as material desires, anarthas. And these anarthas prevent us to be really sincere. So it's like a vicious circle. We want to come into anartha nivritti, but the anarthas itself are preventing us. And it's like hope against hope. But the only way to get out of it is the mercy of the spiritual master. So it's not only chanting that we have to do. When Prabhupada, when the devotee said to Prabhupada said in the beginning, chant 64 rounds. And the devotee said, no, we cannot do that, it's too much. Prabhupada said, 32. He said, still too much, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, 16, but no less and do service. We need to do the service also to get the mercy. That combination is very important. Without the spiritual master, no mercy. Yeah, we are chanting every morning, not prayers about the Sunityam Bhagavata Sivya, Bhagavata Namaskar, Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. By daily attendance of the Bhagavatam class and by rendering service to the spiritual master, follow his instructions. And then we become purified. The mercy of the spiritual master must always be there. That, of course, Lord Balaram, as also, Lord Balaram has appeared as the elder brother that just 1 year before Janmashtami, before Krishna appears. But in Chaitanya Lila, in Lord Nityananda Balaram appears as the younger brother. It's interesting that, but Lord Nityananda is known as Patita Pavanam. He gives mercy to even the most fallen. So in Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami factually explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Nityananda Balaram is so powerful, he can stop and check our karma. And that it is said Lord Nityananda has inundated this universe with love of Godhead. So we can get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya by worshipping Lord Nityananda. So we cannot go directly to Radha and Krishna. It should go to Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya. That mercy is required. So we have in, like Balaram sometimes took also the position of Guru. Like in chapter 54 of the Krishna book, there you have the kidnapping of Rukmini. Of course, after Krishna kidnaps Rukmini, then Rukmi is following Krishna to defeat him, but it goes wrong somewhere. and Krishna is disfiguring Rukmi. He shaves half of his mustache and the other half of his hair. Anyway, and Balaram comes there. He comes later and I see what's happening, and he starts to chastise Krishna. He said, "How can you do that? It's now your family member. You should have at least a little respect." But also Rukmini was begging Krishna, "Please don't kill him." But then Balaram, to pacify Rukmini, he said to Rukmini, "You should not be sorry that your brother has been odd-looking. Everyone suffers or enjoys the results of his actions." So Lord Balaram wanted to impress upon Rukmini that she should not be sorry for the consequences of her brother. That the consequences her brother suffered due to his previous actions. So there was no need of being too affectionate towards such a brother. And so this is the mercy of Lord Balaram that this evening I will speak more on the position of Lord Balaram, his identity. That, but today is a day to pray to Lord Balaram for his mercy. That because we need Balaram's mercy. That this Asyuta Bala is very important. Asyuta Bala means really the spiritual strength. That if it in the morning, if we have a good sadhana and we are good absorbed in the chanting, that then we get a Asyuta Bala to during the day to withstand the illusory energy that gives us strength. If you have a good morning program, then you have the strength during the day not to fall prey to Maya. And that is very important to get that spiritual strength. That so this Asyuta Bala, that the spiritual master gives us the sword. But the sword itself is no use. We may get a lot of transcendental knowledge, but if you don't apply it in your life, you will not get strength for it. And that's a very important lesson. It's not that spiritual life is a scholarly endeavor, trying to memorize verses and so on, and get all the knowledge. But because what do you take to your next life is only the realization of this knowledge. So realization is very important. That theoretical knowledge will not help us. Therefore, we must learn from the spiritual master how to apply this knowledge. That it is said here, yes, we have the Bhaktivedanta purpose that helps us, but we need further instructions. One role of the spiritual master is to see his disciple. How is this disciple situated in material nature? What is his material nature? And we need instructions how to use our material nature in Krishna's service. And that's one role of the spiritual master, is to help you how to arrange your life to follow these instructions. And it's a very important role. We need the mercy of a living spiritual master in that sense, who guides us. Prabhupada's instructions are general and are very good. That's the beginning. But then to apply this in my own life, in my situation, that is something where we need help from the spiritual master. Why can the spiritual master help? Because he got the Asyuta Bala and he applied it. He knows how he did it. He knows how he became liberated. And so because he did it, he can explain it to others how to do it. Therefore, it is said also in Nectar of Instruction, text 5 in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said, one should be careful to accept an Uttam Adhikar as one spiritual master. One can also accept a Madhyam Adhikar, but one should understand the Madhyam Adhikar can help one to bring the disciple to his level of advancement and not above. Of course, the Madhyam is also liberated. It's good to have a Madhyam Adhikar spiritual master, that he will also advance gradually to Uttam. So this is important, that the necessity to accept the spiritual master. You get a sort of knowledge, but you have to sharp the sword by the instructions. And then by the Asyuta Bala, we can use this sword and cut off our attachment to the material world by on dint of spiritual power, this Asyuta Bala. And today is certainly a day to pray for the spiritual strength to Lord Balaram, this is an essential day, because soon is Janmashtami, but this day is even more important, Balaram Purnim, because we need the strength to serve Krishna, that we need to become qualified, and that qualification comes through our purification, and to purify ourselves we need this Asyuta Bala. And when we follow the instructions of the spiritual master, this Asyuta Bala is there, that it follows automatically when we are sincerely following. That the same thing, to understand these instructions, because we speak about the spiritual master, but also the association of devotees. We are discussing together that, by the discussions of the devotees, that there is a sharing of realizations. So we have also, by that, we inspire each other and we learn from each other. And because from this also, this Asyuta Bala comes. One gets strength from association of devotees. It's because the Prabhupada writes about, well, if we distribute books, we become the Vartma Pradakshaka Guru for others. But association of devotees is essential, because we get these instructions from the spiritual master, and we get the explanation how to do it, but it can be refined by our discussions. We get more deeper. That my spiritual master, Bhakti Maharaj, always gives this instruction, that he said, you should take advantage of everyone who is more advanced than you. So, in that sense, everyone who is more advanced is also a kind of guru, that we can learn from them. And also, it is the etiquette also, the spiritual master, the Diksha Guru, but God brothers should be respected on the same level. And we can also learn from them. So it's going wider, especially in our movement, than just the Diksha Guru, this principle, that one can learn from so many gurus in our movement. That when I started devotional service, I learned from so many gurus, because my spiritual master instructed me. I took Shiksha of Prahladananda Maharaj. Prahladananda Maharaj, he was my guru in how to preach according to Siddhanta. Because I was traveling with him in Europe, in the Balkan states. It was a pioneer work. But in the evening, we would have Bhagavad Gita class. He would preach 20 minutes. And then after that, I would give a lecture of 20 minutes. And after that, he would give feedback on my preaching. Sometimes sweet, sometimes not so sweet. But I learned. I was in the ashram, Brahmacharya ashram. there's the good old times in Radhadesh, there was still a brahmacharya ashram. This pieces disappeared there, but anyway. But at that time, I was in the ashram with Yadunanda Swami now. And from him, I learned especially the importance of cultivating friendship among devotees. It's very important aspect. And then I've been preaching with Hriday Chaitanya Prabhu, who was the temple president, now GBC, preaching in Belgium, France, and other countries. And I was assisting him for many years, for a number of years. And he was in a high managerial position, but he had to tolerate so much. And from him, I learned the importance of tolerance in devotional service. And then I was studying in Vrindavan. I did Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Vedanta in the VHE. That was from 2001 till 2011, 10 years. Every year I was 2-3 months in Vrindavan. I learned from Burijan Prabhu, especially Mother Narayani. Especially Burijan Prabhu is my guru in the Bhagavatam. I learned from him the Bhagavatam. And then in Radhadesh, I became Pujari of Radha Gopinath. And Premananda Siddhi Prabhu was my guru in deity worship. He explained all details with great patience. So in that way, we learn from so many devotees and we should take advantage of it. Of course, the Diksha Guru has a special position in our heart, for sure. I'm not minimizing that, but along with that, we are a multi-guru society, and that didn't exist before. Prabhupada wanted that. He wanted so many gurus and that's our power. If we cooperate together, we get this Asyuta Bala to expand this movement unlimitedly. And of course, that all depends on putting Prabhupada in the center. He is our source, really, from Asyuta Bala. It comes through him, his empowerment. And that is our refuge, our great mercy. But today, we remember especially this aspect, the empowerment of the spiritual master. And this is this Asyuta Balam. Thank you very much. Any comments, questions? Yes,
thank you so much for such an enlightening class. You covered so many dimensions of Krishna consciousness, which is very, very deep and very nourishing. I was looking for one clarity when you spoke about the spiritual master knows the disciple's current material situation, and he is guiding the disciple how to utilize that opportunity to go closer to Krishna. What we see in today's time, the spiritual master has so many disciples, and he is so busy with other things also, because other than taking care of other disciples and handling other political issues, which shouldn't be the case, but that's the situation today. How should one disciple has a desire to grow in Krishna consciousness, grow in that period of time, because now he doesn't have a vapu of a spiritual master? Should he rely on the Chaitya Guru, where Diksha Guru comes and guides him, or the other dimension which you covered, learning from other devotees and thinking that this is the instruction coming from spiritual master?
Yeah, it's like I said, that because it's a very important point, and I thank you for that question. And that it is important that we engage ourselves according to our nature. That was a devotee who came to Prabhupada and said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I want to please you. Ask me anything you want, I will do it. Prabhupada's reply was, but what do you want to do for Krishna? And the devotee said, Prabhupada, it doesn't matter. You ask me anything, I will do it for you. Prabhupada replied, try to understand our philosophy. What do you want to do for Krishna? And the devotee said, Prabhupada, I want to make unbreakable mridangas. And Prabhupada said, yes, do that for Krishna. And he made this fiberglass mridangas, which we are using all over the world now. But that shows, Krishna also says that twice in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna, you have to do your duty and not do the duty of others. So that's an important principle. We have a material Svadharma and a spiritual Svadharma. But we cannot jump to our spiritual Svadharma. We must first have a peaceful situation and feeling satisfied on a material level by engaging ourselves according to our nature. So that's the principle here. But first of all, it's not that we need a spiritual master to figure out what is our nature. But what is our nature? It's what Prabhupada said, what you like to do, what you are good in, all the talents that you have. Of course, it's not, the purity is not there like in previous ages where you had four varnas, that it's all mixed. But still we have a nature. We have a nature. Like when I advise Shiksha disciples that and I don't know the devotee, I ask them their birth date, birth time and place, and look at their astrological chart. I've studied astrology for 25 years. And I talk with them and I ask questions because I see their nature in their chart. I ask questions and they reply to me. And by that I can ascertain, yes, that's the nature of the person. And then I can give advice. So we should know our nature. And Prabhupada said many times, it is the responsibility of the temple resident to engage everyone according to his nature. So that's not only the guru, also the temple resident is that function. That if someone is not engaged according to our nature in the temple, then it's not going to last very long. And the devotee will not feel satisfied. But mostly what you are good in, that is what you should do. That's your nature. And the temple president is one thing, but also one can have mentors. It's good to have different mentors. The spiritual master can be too busy, but he can delegate it to mentors, and that is very, yeah, there is a great need in that in our society. Of course, mentor is not such an easy thing. I'm going to organize a mentorship system that may work, that may not work, but mentorship means you take shelter of someone whom you trust and which you choose. It's not that they say this is your mentor. That doesn't work. You must have a heart-to-heart relationship, and the mentor must be more advanced, and you must feel comfortable to share your inner situation that's important. And by that, if the mentor gets to know you, can also advise how to engage you in according to your nature. I've seen many times devotees, they are not intellectually inclined, not much attracted to all the philosophy, but they like to work with their hands. They are good in construction, in all these things. And so we have to see how to engage people and that is a very important aspect of our development. But it doesn't depend only on our relationship with the Guru. That there are also many other Shiksha gurus or mentors who should help. And in our community, we can develop devotee care. Devotee care is very important. And the devotee care committee, that can be a part of their mission also. That's caring, spiritual caring means also be sure that they are nicely engaged according to our nature. It does not mean that we cannot do anything outside of our nature, but generally we should be engaged in according to our nature. It's not that the temple president says, "Oh, you clean the temple floor," and we say, "Oh, that's not our nature." No, we have also to go on book distribution. We may not like it, but it's the instruction of the Guru. But generally, we should be engaged according to our nature. I don't know, does that make sense? Yeah. Good. Good, then we will continue our Balaram Katha this evening. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Balaram ki jai.
Bhakti Prabhava Swami Maharaj ki